Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over the early vote statistics we've gotten from the state of Georgia in the runoff election. All the early vote is officially in and it is as up to date as we can possibly get. All the data coming in by January 2nd, 2021. So I'm going over all the up to date data we have for the Senate race for the early votes. But first, as I mentioned in my previous video, by the way, thank you to everyone who has watched my previous video. I have now set a channel record that video has the most views I've ever gotten on any video on my channel so far. So everyone who did that, thank you so much for doing that. And if you haven't seen the video yet, please go check it out. I really appreciate it after this one, of course. And also, 2021 New Year, New Year's resolution. I hope one of your New Year's resolutions is to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. You guys have made me very happy with how my last video performed, and if we can even get half of that, I'll be super happy. So thank you all so much. Now on to the video. So Georgia, this is what we're here for. The Senate runoff on January 5th. It's coming up. It's coming up quick, and we're gonna know very soon who will be the two senators representing Georgia and how big of an impact will that have on the country. What do we know so far? Well, all the early votes are in, and it has broken 3 million early votes. For a special election runoff, for a Senate runoff, this is unprecedented to ever see this happen. Historically, runoff elections, I've said a few videos ago, runoff elections typically have lower turnout and lower enthusiasm than a presidential election or midterm election or so, because usually in a runoff election there's not getting as much media attention, and that's not really usually as big of a deal as, say, the actual elections in November or a presidential race. This race has broken every expectation so far. This race has shown that in a very unprecedented time, as we all know, 2020 was very crazy, very unprecedented. This race setting records as well. This race has, I believe, the most early vote totals of a special election runoff Senate race. It has fundraising records by candidates. I believe the Democrats set the record for most fundraising ever by a candidate. This race has been crazy. And what do we know from these 3 million votes? Well, we know of the 3 million votes, 38.8% of registered voters have already voted in this election of our early vote. That is much higher than expected even a month ago. That is much higher. So quickly, I'm going to go over the in-person votes and kind of like the categories you see up here. Then I'm going to go down to the page where it talks about the statistics of the votes that have come in so far. So in the early person votes, we know that 2 million votes or so were in-person early votes. So this was a concern for the 2020 presidential election. A lot of people were wondering, are the votes in person or are they vote by mail? We have 2 million in-person votes and 1 million or so mail-in votes. So these are the in-person votes. This is the map of them. This is the map of the total early votes. Now, it does vary. There's a little disclaimer saying that the scale varies, but what's very important is you're looking in the northern part of Georgia, because in northern Georgia, this is where a lot of the Atlanta and suburban Atlanta vote is. So it's important to keep an eye on, and a lot of the votes, of the early votes, are coming from up here, right? So now the mail-in ballots accepted, over 928,000 votes have already been accepted statewide in Georgia, statewide. Now we look at mail-in ballots rejected. Only 3,000 votes have been rejected, a 0.4%. So most of the votes are getting counted. So that's very important to note that if there are any election irregularities in the vote counts or in anything of that sort, either it's very minimal or we'll have to wait until the rest of the results come in. But 0.4% does seem very small. We have to wait till election day to see if that plays a factor or not. The mail-in ballot requests have had 1.374 million votes requested, and rejected are only 1,000, so 0.1%. So again, most people are getting requests for votes, most people are voting. So now for the totally early votes, there are a few counties that are of note. However, I think what's more important than telling you what the towns and counties are is the early votes by race and ethnicity, because this will tell us in an election, we know if the Democratic coalition for winning elections usually goes between trying to get as many white voters as possible and rallying up turnout among minority voters, especially black and Hispanic voters. Of the totally early votes, we have 55.8% of the vote. Oh, no, excuse me, I read the wrong thing. 41.1% turnout rate for white voters, for non Hispanic white voters. 39.8% for non Hispanic black voters. 2.3 2.321 million registered black voters, 923,000 voters, almost 924,000 have turned out for a runoff election that usually has low turnout. That is very, very big. Very, very big for a runoff election. Now, whether or not that says the Democrats are going to win or not, well, obviously we have to wait till the election to find that out. But that's a very, very good sign. If you're a Democrat and you want high turnout, the African American turnout rate being just 39.8 to the white turnout rate being 41.1, only 2% difference of early vote turnout rate between whites and blacks. That's very, very good news for the Democrats trying to bring out turnout. The question has been which side will get out the vote more, the Republicans or Democrats? If political trends, polling data, and voting by race and ethnicity is any indicator, it looks like the Democrats are bringing out the votes where they need to among non-Hispanic blacks. 23.9% turnout rate among Hispanics. I mean, that is very, very big numbers, and honestly, I'm trying to be objective here, but very good news for the Democrats, at least in the early vote totals by now. And now also going on to total early votes by age, what we know. This is honestly less important than they're voted by ethnicity, but the biggest category is 66 and up. Usually the older voters typically tend Republican. But then it also, this is what's important to know, is every category, including young people, 18 to 24, 25 to 34, both of those categories are at least over 20%. Which means for a Senate runoff election, there is very, very big enthusiasm for this Senate race. And typically, when there's big enthusiasm, then that usually means that the opposing party is getting out a lot of support. This could mean that the Republicans are getting a lot of support out as well. However, seeing as things are a little chaotic right now, and the Democrats have been on the offensive for most of these races, it would appear the Democrats are on the offensive and have a slight advantage in terms of early vote total right now. We have to wait on election day to see what Republicans are going to get, because most Republicans will probably vote on election day. We have to wait and see, but the Democrats are looking very good in the early turnout. And lastly, total votes by the 2020 general election. So of the early votes, the people who voted in the 2020 general election was 57.8% turnout rate. So about 58% of people who voted in the 2020 general election already voted in the special runoff election. And 4.2% of people who did not vote in 2020 voted in this race. 115,000 people who did not vote in 2020 have voted in this. That's very big. That means that whichever candidates are doing better, they're getting more votes than voted last time. They're getting people who were disenfranchised who didn't want to vote to go out and vote, which is very, very big. We don't know who those candidates are voting for, but they're definitely going to make a big difference, and we're going to have to see on election night how this goes. So that is the up-to-date early vote numbers. 3 million votes breaking in the state of Georgia. 3 million, unprecedented, especially for a Senate runoff. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you always get updated for future content. Thank you again for my last video, for making it the most top viewed video on my channel ever. Thank you guys so much. I can't even express how thankful I am to all of you. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.